that the community does. I've witnessed this at first hand. I've had the pleasure of visiting the Ahmadi Mosque in South London, but the Ahmadi community came together in our hour of need during the floods in 2015-2016, and I will be extremely grateful, as will the people of Tadcaster, for their support. Could I start by reaffirming this government's unwavering commitment to freedom of religion or belief? The honourable member for Leeds North East just reaffirmed the words of my colleague Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon. It's a commitment that was further underlined by the Prime Minister's appointment last year of the honourable member for Gillingham and Rainham as his special envoy on this subject, and can I thank him for the contributions that he's made this afternoon and the hard work that he's putting into the role, which is incredibly important, and I know the Prime Minister and the whole government is very appreciative. He succeeds, obviously, my noble friend Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, who very ably held this role together with his ministerial duties at the FCO, and he, of course, continues to champion this subject in his role as Minister for Human Rights. And in addition to appointing an envoy, we've demonstrated our strong commitment to defending the right to freedom of religion or belief right around the world. And in delivering on this commitment, we work closely with like-minded partners such as the United States, Canada, and our European friends. So by standing together and sending a unified message to those that fail to respect religious freedom, we become stronger agents of change. We've used our influential voice at the UN, the OSCE and the Council of Europe to raise awareness of the scale and of the severity of persecution. And we've also built strong and lasting relationships with NGOs, experts, faith leaders and academics, grassroots organisations and parliamentarians too. Now, this network of allies keeps us closely informed, acts as a critical friend and demonstrates the importance the UK attaches to respect between communities. Now, this ongoing conversation is very important, but does it create the change that we need to see? So to evaluate the impact of our work, the then Foreign Secretary, my right honourable friend for South West Surrey, commissioned an independent review into the scale of Christian persecution globally and the support that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office offers to persecuted Christians. And indeed, Mrs. Buck, to all persecuted religious communities around the world. The review produced a set of challenging recommendations on what more the FCO can do to support people of all faiths and none in every part of the world. The government accepted all of the recommendations, and my honourable friend, the member for Gillingham and Rainham, as we have heard, is overseeing their implementation and reported back on progress to the Bishop of Truro a couple of days ago, just 2 days ago. He asked officials to prioritise the recommendations into short, medium and long-term priorities. And under his oversight, 11 have been implemented so far, or are on the way to being implemented. And to give an example, work is underway to ensure that British diplomats and officials in relevant roles receive enhanced religious literacy training to help them understand the role that religion plays in many people's lives and in the decisions that they make. We're also working to establish the UK's first autonomous global human rights sanctions regime, which will aim to deter individuals from committing serious human rights violations or abuses and hold those that do accountable. And our commitment has also led us to agree to work towards tabling a UN Security Council resolution on the persecution of Christians and people of other faiths or beliefs in the MENA region. Now, overall, the UK is working harder than ever to support those who are persecuted on account of their religion or belief. And today's excellent debate highlights why our efforts are so badly and, Ms. Buck, sadly needed. As we have heard today from various honourable members, in Pakistan, the members of minority communities, including Christians and Ahmadi Muslims, are suffering terrible discrimination and abuse. So we continue to urge the government of Pakistan, both bilaterally and through our partners and international channels, to ensure that all citizens enjoy the full range of human rights, as laid down in Pakistan's own constitution and enshrined in international law. In India, we are closely monitoring developments following the passing of the Citizenship Amendment Act. This was mentioned by my honourable friend, the member for Manchester Gorton. and we've raised our concerns about the impact of this legislation with the Indian government. The recent violence in Delhi is concerning, and we trust that the Indian government will address the concerns of residents of all faiths, and we continue to engage with India at all levels, including union and state government. The Honourable Member for Leeds North East also rightly raised the situation in China. We're deeply concerned about the persecution of minorities there, particularly Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. We've repeatedly raised our concerns, including in a statement by my colleague Lord Ahmad at the last UN General Assembly and the most recent Human Rights Council. And we had an opportunity to debate the Uyghur Muslims' plight yesterday in this chamber. In Nigeria, where I know the Honourable Member for Henley has great experience as one of our envoys, we are encouraging the government to do more to reduce conflict. Last month, the FCO hosted a conference on fostering social cohesion, which looked at the complex drivers of conflict in Nigeria, and we began to identify solutions that meet the needs of all communities. And again, raised by the opposition spokesman, in Iran, we remain deeply concerned about the treatment of minorities, including the Baha'i community. We continue to take action with the international community to press Iran to improve its poor record on human rights, including most recently at the Human Rights Council, the UN Human Rights Council, in March this year. If I can now take an opportunity in the time I've got left to respond to some of the contributions from honourable and right honourable members. The honourable member for Strangford asked about the progress on the Truro review recommendations. Well, we've heard some of that from my honourable friend from Bishop for Gillingham and Raynham. We've accepted the 22 recommendations, and work is ongoing to make sure that we implement them. We're committed to implementing those recommendations in full. He also asked about the progress on the recommendation to ensure that mandatory religious literacy training is available to staff. We're working to ensure that religious literacy training is available to all staff and indeed across government. He asked about tabling a UN resolution to send peacekeeping forces to Nigeria. Now, for more than a decade, as he knows, Islamic insurgents, including Boko Haram and Islamic State, West Africa, have caused immense suffering to the Muslim and Christian populations. We've made clear to the authorities in Nigeria at the highest levels the importance of protecting civilians. We regularly raise our concerns about the increasing violence. He also asked about our efforts to rescue Leah Sharibu. We remain deeply concerned about the case of Leah and indeed all individuals who have not returned home. We will continue to work with the Nigerian government, non-governmental organisations and civil society to improve the security situation and human rights for all people in Nigeria. The UK government will continue, I can assure my honourable friend, to show global leadership in encouraging all states to uphold international human rights obligations and also in holding those human rights abusers to account. As the Prime Minister announced in his Greenwich speech on the 3rd of February, the UK will also be a global champion for free trade, which is a force for good that underpins stable, open and prosperous global economies. He also asked whether we would provide direct aid to vulnerable communities in Nigeria. Well, we do work very closely with DFID. In fact, all ministers in the FCO are also DFID ministers, and we're working very closely on freedom of religion or belief. Humanitarian assistance is provided on the basis of need, irrespective of race, religion or ethnicity. We work to ensure aid reaches the most vulnerable, including those from religious minorities. He asked how we're helping women from minority faith groups who suffer from double persecution. Now, we acknowledge the double vulnerability facing women from minority religious communities. We ensure our human rights policy work considers the intersectionality of human rights and that the UK defends the full range of human rights as set out in the Universal Declaration